And I don't care if most of y'all are black. You need to teach your children to obey authority. We need to teach our sons and daughters to obey authority. We need to teach our children to not fight against authority, not fight against cops, not rebel. Be model citizens.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's me, Linda B. I have MJ of WTF For Real and Derek of SOB. Are you serious? We're going to be talking about authority. Are some people, especially the youth, particularly Black youth, more resistant and disrespectful to authority? We're going to be talking about that today on the Linda B. Show. I'm going to show you a clip. Now, this is a preacher, and his name is Philip Anthony Mitchell, and I believe he's the lead pastor at 2819 Church in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm just going to pop this up here. Now, Black folks got mad at this man, okay? You guys just give me what you think, and just be blunt. Just say it. Just say what you got to say, and don't sugarcoat anything.
Stop blaming white cops for the killing of Black kids. Instead, teach your Black children to be obedient towards authority. And I don't care if most of y'all are black. You need to teach your children to obey authority. We need to teach our sons and daughters to obey authority. We need to teach our children to not fight against authority, not fight against cops, not rebel. Be model citizens. Stop being rebellious towards authority. Be submitted to laws and ordinances.
Guys, tell me what you think about that, what he said.
I agree with him 100%.
Yeah.
I agree with him. At the end of the day, I think that, for me, it's like it starts at home. And I think kids that respect the authority of their parents will in turn respect the authority of another adult as a reflection of their parent. I was brought up at a time when, not only did it was yes sir, no, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am in the house. I had to respect every other adult with that same authority now or respect. And so like I didn't do that with my children. They didn't have to call me yes sir and call their mom no, they didn't have to do that. But
I make mine do it.
Well, you still live in the South. I raised my kids up in the city, so it was a little different, but it also was kind of like,
ma'am, hello. You don't just say yeah to me.
Oh no, it was never that. They had to use their words.
Okay.
One thing I made sure you have to use your words. And they were always respect. I taught them to be respectful. Like my kids have manners that I noticed a lot of other kids didn't have, and a lot of that did come from not having a father at home. And that's the unfortunality of it is that, a lot most kids that, lack that respect, unfortunately comes from a single parent home. Not in every case, but in most cases.
Yeah. What do you say, Derek?
I'm understanding exactly where MJ is coming from, but I'm just a little bit tweaked the other, not necessarily definitely not 180 degrees, maybe 3 to 5 degrees off, where the respect and authority 100% on the same page. But I think too often police, there's no gray area given to police. They're either good cops or bad cops. And there's opportunities and times where you're going to be dealing with them where if it's legitimate, give them their authority. But if it's unethical, I'm putting my hands behind my back, take me in, because I'm going to fight it. I'll fight it in the court system. I'll do what I got to, but I'm going to stand up for what's right at no matter what the cost is. And I understand exactly where, that's not necessarily where this was going, but as I'm listening to that, that's where I'm thinking is, yeah, but I know some friends that are cops, and some of them are acquaintances because they're no longer friends because of ethical things. Like if a cop tells me to do something, I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to listen to authority. But if they start telling me to do something that's going against my God-given rights from the Bill of Rights, I'm sorry, but I'm not giving up my rights for you. And so there's lines that I'm not willing to cross. But I wasn't there when I was a kid either. So like teaching your kids to do that, it's a lot easier as a parent for me to say, no, we'll sort that at the end. You do what you're told on that side. And as an adult, starting to learn where you can stand on your own 2 feet, when you can fight back, what's appropriate. And because it's all judgment calls, and you've got to, as an adult, you've got that line of risk reward with every decision you're making. And is it worth bucking up to a cop at the risk of a beat down, at the risk of prison time? Like, because it comes down to their word against yours, and how well they're good at articulating on a police report and documenting evidence and all that other stuff. Because if it does go to court of law, they're not always going to look at your perspective. They're going to look at theirs is going to have way more weight than yours, who was sitting in the back of a cop car. So
Absolutely.
when it's such a deep question, I feel like I'm not fully answering it for you, Linda B. But
yeah, but it's also a slippery slope.
Yes,
It's a slippery slope, because I fully agree with what you're saying, Dirk. I know several cops, and I know some ones that aren't so great. But at the end of the day, I think when it's talking about respect authority and respect the police and things like that, now I think there's limits, right? And that gray area. I like to live in the gray area, because I don't believe there's too far left and too far right. To me, sometimes just don't work. Especially when you deal with policemen. But I think one of the things that we do not do a good job of in most cases is teach our kids what their rights are. We teach them how to behave. But I think a lot of times, even us as adults, a lot of us don't even know all of our rights, especially in the moment when it's necessary. But there's lines there. I'm going to keep my hands on the wheel. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. But if you ask me to look at my truck, I'm going to absolutely tell you no, because I didn't give you. You don't have a right to do that. So, just understanding what you absolutely can do, because there's limits, right? I'm not, even if I knew that they're not following their protocol to the letter of the law, I'm not going to challenge every single thing. Some things I'm just going to fight it later, but certain things I know that I could say, absolutely not. But you got to know when to live to fight another day. No pun intended.
Yes. I mean, I agree with you. You need to know when to fight it and how to fight it. I believe that I've never been in that position. Maybe it's different because I'm female. They let me get away with warnings even when I'm clearly speeding.
Yeah, we don't get off so easily, Linda B.
They'll be like, because I'm very nice. I'm like, hello, officer. You were speeding, ma'am. You were going around that curve too fast. And, and I said, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we can't do that, Linda B. We got to stand on business.
But I'm just saying that has happened to me. And they said, well, I'm going to give you a warning this time. I'm going to give you a warning. I'm going to give you a warning. If they look me up and they like, I'm clean as a whistle, but I don't know if there's a warning limit. This woman got 50 warnings. It's time to get her a ticket. But I don't know. But I've never had that experience. I've heard of Black men having bad experiences with police officers. Like I can just name, even my husband experienced something, a couple of my past boyfriends, and I didn't date thugs. No thugs, okay, no scrubs, none of that. And they would get stopped, go all through the vehicle, and they would get so upset, and they would just have these run-ins without even doing anything wrong, nothing wrong whatsoever. So to me, if I did come into that situation, I believe I would just comply to what they wanted. And if they did something that I thought was against my constitutional right, I would fight it after the fact, after that interaction was over with, rather than right there, because I don't know what kind of day they had. I don't know if they got some screws loose. I don't know. So I don't want them to pop off. That's why I'm extra nice and syrupy sweet. Southern style.
See, you got to lay it on. See, we can't lay it on thick. We have to make excuses like, I'm just really trying to get to the bathroom, so I'm trying to get home real fast. That works. That actually got me out of a ticket a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
I really got to go to the bathroom. I'm literally trying to get home. I'm sorry.
Ever since I've seen Tommy Boy, I've always wanted to run out of my car saying there's bees everywhere, just running and diving, but I've never had that opportunity yet. So, but Dirk, it's going to happen someday.
Derek, I don't want you to get pulled over, bro, but try it and let me know what happens.
Yes, I want to know about your white man privilege when it comes to the police.
Man, I'm waiting for it to show up myself.
That's why I want him to do the bees.
I mean, now that I'm getting older and have kids, like they're eyeballing how fast are you going? What's the speed limit? Man, stay in the back seat and look out the window. What are you trying to tell me how to drive for?
Your own business.
So
I
haven't gotten pulled over in 12 years. So I'm not in no hurry no more. We own a business. I work out of the house. If I'm going somewhere, I'm going speed limit. I'm worried about, especially in today's day and age, I'm worried about my fuel economy. I'm worried about keeping the money in my pockets.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I do see what that particular pastor is talking about. I've seen it like in my neighborhood, and I live in a decent neighborhood, but I know a couple of times there were some kids up. We have a pool, we have an HOA, and there's a pool and tennis court and all that stuff. And the kids were playing around, and I don't know what they were doing. Maybe they were cussing or something. And my rabbi lives directly in front of me. And he's up at the pool all the time. He likes to tan. And the kids were acting up. And his wife said something to the children, and they cursed her. They cursed her back. Another time these kids, and these were Black children, I'm just going to say, they were cussing again. And he said, "Excuse me, can you not do that? My daughter is right here." And they got mad and got an attitude. So there is some kind of, and it could be with any kind of people. I've seen all groups of people be disrespectful, but I'm blunt. I see it more with young Black people, more so. I'm not saying that the other ones don't do it, but I mean,
yeah, but that's
like what I'm saying, but I keep seeing it. When you keep seeing something over and over, and the little white kid, the little Asian kid be like, "Oh, excuse me, ma'am," and they just straighten up, and then the little Black kid be like, "You can't tell me, nah, nah, nah." I'm like, what the hell? But it's really what you said, MJ, not having a father at home. We know that's the problem in the Black community, because when my uncles and stuff were growing up, they would never do that. My grandfather would have their head.
Yeah.
There was no way they would talk like that.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely share that same sentiment, Linda B. Like, I can't think, listen, I'm 49 years old, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that I can probably count on one hand, and probably one or two, I can maybe twice in my life, that I've ever seen a group of belligerent, white kids acting like that. The vast majority of those experiences for me, especially living up north in the city for 30 years, is usually in the Black community, unfortunately. And as someone who used to coach and mentor kids and be involved in the community when it comes to youth, I can say without absolute surety that that's always the problem. Usually you don't have those issues when both parents are at home, and that's the thing that's unfortunate, and that's the thing that if I could snap my fingers and fix that, I would. But unfortunately, that's
fingers and fix it. Oh my gosh. When you tear up the family, you really mess things up and
it's for generations.
It's just so horrible. And to tear up the family, oh my gosh, no man.
Yeah, fathers are the authority figure in the house traditionally, and so I know, like, when it came to my father growing up, like, our mother had to do was tell us, "I'm going to tell your dad when he gets home," and we're like, "Wait, don't do it."
Yeah.
Please, no, whatever we'll do, we'll never do it again. So it's like, that was the authority figure, and we respected that. So as an adult, and people of authority, whether it's at work or whatever dealings you have as an adult in the real world, the same thing applies. Obviously, it's not the same, but you still give that authority, you still allow for that authority and respect to that position. And it's no difference when dealing with the police or as it is with dealing with people that you work with. And those things translate to other relationships too, which is why you see the violence and the things that happen out here.
Yeah. And you wonder, every time, because sometimes I've seen, they have these examples all over social media of these police interactions. And sometimes the police officer, to me, is out of line, but then a lot of times he's not really. Sometimes he's out of line, sometimes it's not. And the times that he's just doing his job, there are times when the person is like, "What do you want?" I'm like, he didn't do anything bad yet. I mean, he's just saying, can I see your license and your registration? You know, that's like a typical question. You know, you're
Right.
supposed to have that information in the vehicle with you. And the attitude sometimes is just so awful, so belligerent. It needs to be addressed. I'm not sugarcoating it. We need to do better.
Yeah, there's more good cops than there are bad ones,
There
and the
are.
ones that I look at a lot of those those footage, the police footage. I look at a lot of those, and the reason why I watch them is not to be entertained, although some of them can be pretty entertaining. I watch them because I'm looking for patterns. Like I'm looking to see like how many times does this guy have to say it in the most respectful way before now he has to be a little aggressive. And
Right.
most times it's like, gosh, man, all you had to do was just do what he asked. He didn't even say it in an egregious way. These people are really, and at the end of the day, I think sometimes we forget that these people are humans too. And I don't want to misconstrue it. There's some bad cops out there,
Oh, yeah.
and I wish I could tell them what they could do, but I'm not going to do it. What I will say is, these are humans too. These are people. They have families too, and they might not always make the best decision. But let me just say, for the good cops, these are people too, and we can't forget that they are doing a job just no different than the jobs that other people out there doing, and they just have a job with a high risk.
It's very high risk. I was going to say it's a lot more dangerous, and I think there is some kind of animosity between the Black community and police officers, and I think there's historically being like, I don't know, tension or something. And I mean, I don't know how to fix it other than what you said, put the family together. If we could snap our fingers, then that would cure a lot of things. But I've been hearing the same thing for decades, that, there's animosity between the Black community and police officers. They see a police officer and it's like, some people, he hasn't even said anything, like, why you stop me?
Police officers even taught that when you go through police academy, there's what's called the use of force continuum, and literally use of force starts with wearing of a police uniform. And so just the fact that they're in uniform gives people some kind of feelings, regardless of what it is. And the biggest thing, like I try to teach my kids, and they will all tell you that they are sick of this one word that I use repeatedly with them, and it's perspective.
Oh, that's my favorite word, Dirk.
If you think about it, you don't know what call that cop just came off of. And yeah, you may have just gotten a little bit of an attitude or said, well, why do you really need my ID? What law did I commit? Or what law did I break? Well, they just saw someone get their brain kicked in, or they just pulled a kid out when both parents committed a double suicide. Now the kids are by themselves. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could be going on in life that they are getting calls for, that, praise God, we're protected from in normal society. And we're not seeing that 6 doors down, there's drugs, 10 doors down, someone just got their car stolen. Like, we're not seeing all that stuff. But we go 7 miles over speed limit in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, and we're like, what did I do? Was it really that big of a deal? You could have been the best call that guy had for the day, and literally all you have to do is just be polite. You can still stand up for your rights, but just be polite about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the percentage is, but most people, when they get pulled over, know that they did that. You were speeding.
I already knew I was speeding. I was like, that's just,
Every time I've gotten pulled over, with the exception of one time, I was speeding. And I knew I was. So it's no argument. Like, I'm not going to
no argument from me.
I made an excuse. To get out of it. I've gotten out of a few. But other than that, like, I'm going to make an excuse every time. Sometimes I beat it, sometimes I don't, but I knew I did it.
I just say, I'm sorry. What did I do, officer? Well, you went around that curve fast. And I said, I'm sorry. Well, okay, let me see your license. Okay, just be careful next time. You rolled through that stop sign, you didn't stop. And my daughter, one time, she was in her car seat. She was like maybe 1. And I think she spared me. He looked in the back seat and saw that cute baby. He was like, well, all right.
Yeah, my kids have gotten me out of plenty of tickets.
That is the truth.
Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thank you guys so much for joining me today on the show. Thank you, definitely. MJ with WTF for real. Derek, SOB, are you serious? That is some channel name. You guys check them out. I'll leave their links in the description box below. All right, there you have it. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me here today. Don't forget to smash like, comment, share, subscribe, hit all notifications so that you never ever miss a video that I post. You all be blessed, and until next time.